Hey everyone, and welcome to a new series that I'm going to be starting on the channel for making some custom elements in Planet Coaster using the new Planet Coaster mod tools. And basically just the varying track lengths that you can use now thanks to the mod. It's more specifically the 2 meter method because it's the best thing that's happened to this game in a very long time. As well as that, Evan has finally found a way of sorting out vertical editing on, track pieces like this one here and this one there to basically make sure that the game doesn't give you the track limits exceeded when you're trying to smooth track pieces on vertical surfaces. It's really good, and honestly, you'll be really happy with some of the results you can get by just using this method that I'm going to show you here on how to make custom loops. So basically there's one key premise to this method when you're building loops, and it is to build the loop without any turning first just to get the shape down. So I'll show you now how to make a quick vertical loop. So for this one I'm going to be starting with 4 meter pieces just so we can get the basic shape down, well, a lot easier and quicker than if we were going to use 2 meter pieces to begin with. So how you want to start making a loop is you want to make sure that your pull up is a lot wider than basically the top of the loop. You can see how that is a teardrop shape. So your turning up initially should be quite shallow and then gradually increase in an angle. So you basically get this really nice kind of curve that keeps getting steeper at the end. So you just kind of want to build the basic shape of a loop. Doesn't really matter if you don't get it perfect now, because you're going to smooth it out in a minute. Another helpful tip when you want to build symmetrical loops is delete a piece, check the vertical and like the lateral, the yaw and the pitch, I have to say, just to make sure you're getting the angles correct. So this one's 42, so you can just drop that down to 42. Pull that back again to here, so that's 101 degrees, or because we're working on a weird vertical surface, that is 79 degrees there. Then we just simply go back to that piece, 80 degrees. So that's going to be 110 degrees. No, that's going to be 100 degrees, sorry. And then, yep, you got that. So at this point, you can probably just, eyeball it, make sure that it looks similar, but isn't the same, because that's not really the important part of it pull up. Now that we've got the basic shape of the loop down, all you need to do is just grab the loop, the entirety of it, hit the smooth all button a few times. I say a few times, just basically spam the smooth all button until you get a much cleaner teardrop shape. This is going to make it so that when you go and smooth it out using, I don't know, 6, maybe 4, 3 pieces at a time and moving up along one, you're going to keep a smooth radius for the loop. Alright, and now that we've done that, we're going to place a piece there. Not sure why it's turning, but you're going to place a piece, and here's where we're going to start adding curve to the loop. You're going to grab it, you're going to pull it back to the halfway point at the tip of the loop. I would advise that when you're building your loops, try and get the very middle top bit of the loop to be at 0 degrees, so you can easily do this step. Though it does work with other ones, it's just easier on like this. So what you want to do now is, now you've got half the loop selected, you want to pull it across. So you're going to get it so that these 2 points should be wide enough so that if you stuck your hand out, you wouldn't collide with the track. So about there. So you probably want to have maybe 1 and a quarter track widths between them, so you can get that. All right, now that you've done that, you can see that we've got this really bad kink in the middle of the track. So you take the very middle point, you grab the lateral, the yaw I should say, and you drag it along so that these two, this vertical grid surface that's just appeared, you want to get it so that the middle line is perfectly between the 2 pieces of track. So if you can see down there, the vertical line is placed nicely between the 2. That means that this is going to be the middle point of the loop. So it's the middle point laterally and the middle point vertically. And basically all you're going to do now is you're going to take the pieces individually, drag them along a slight diagonal angle, and just keep dragging them across at that slight angle. It's probably easy if you use this like from the track here, you can gauge how much turn you're going to give the track. So if you want to grab it like that, maybe a little bit less than that, and then increase the turning at the top a little bit more. Just keep adjusting the track pieces. It means that you can gauge how much of the turn the loop's going to have. And this is where the mod comes in. Normally, this piece that would be... this piece here, that would be between when you're the... between the value that goes from positive to like 180, 102, whatever value. That would normally not work because the game doesn't allow pieces to move on the lateral yaw more than 90 degrees. But because of the mod, he's basically enabled them to move 180 degrees, which means, well, you can do that without any sort of weird track limit exceeded now. So you want to keep having the loop turn constantly to create a really smooth effect like this. And now you just simply do the same for the other side. So that you do this, and you keep the turn nice and constant, so that each piece is, about diagonal from each other to create this lovely kind of, well, it's like an S shape, but it's really quite tight. I'm sorry, not as an S shape, like a Z shape. Alright, now that you've got the basic turn down, you're going to use the smooth all again, because it's basically the best thing in the game. Well, actually, if you can see pieces that have quite a big gap in them or wonk, you can just use the smooth all to fix that up quickly, get your shape back on track. Now you just grab the whole thing, hit the smooth all a few times, and there you go. You can already see there you've got a nice smooth curve. It's probably best to just adjust them slightly so you don't have a sudden turn in the middle of the loop rather than, compared to a nice smooth constant turn. This way it makes your loop a lot smoother. So you just grab that again, make any changes you need to. This side's gone really well. And then you just use the smooth all to create a really smooth curved loop. Like this. Looks like that. So now that you've got the loop down, we're not quite done yet, unfortunately, because it's best to adjust the banking here so that you're not going to pull unnecessary lateral forces. Though actually that's pretty good. Sometimes when you do this, the banking won't change too much and you'll get already get some good banking on it. And I think we already have that on this. Oh yeah, there you go. So basically if you need to adjust the banking, you just need to change it so that, for example, it might be like that up the loop. Just adjust it so it's probably about 6 or 7 degrees, depending on the position of the loop. Well, of course, I was going to say 20 because it's being weird. But just make it so it won't pull any unnecessary lats. Test the coaster, see how many laterals it's going to pull, and then keep going with it just to adjust it. Okay, so now that we've done that, you can either keep it as a 4-meter loop, like this, and just use, in my case, I use 3 pieces, smooth, go back and forth, like that, like the normal 4-meter method. Or you can use 2-meter pieces to get the radius of the loop just that more smooth with more control over the banking as well. So if you want to use 2-meter pieces, the best way of doing it is not building initially out of 2-meter pieces. It's building 4-meter and then changing between, and then basically doing the autocomplete method using 6 foot or 2-meter pieces like this. So basically the whole premise is what you want to do is you want to grab a piece, delete it, pull it back to a 6 foot or a 2-meter piece, get it about halfway so it aligns with the banking or yaw much, and then just smooth all. So that now you've turned one 13-foot piece into a 2-meter 6-foot pieces without really having to do very much. And basically you just do that for the rest of the loop. And then, yeah, and I'll show you what happens when we finish that. Okay, so now that you've auto-completed all of the loop into 2-meter pieces even, you can see that already it's kept the shape, but it's going to be a bit bumpy, so what you do then is you just select all the loop again, and then you hit the smooth all, but you want to hit the smooth all for longer this time because 2 meter pieces, they take a lot longer to smooth out on the radius because the pieces aren't going to individually move as much, which is how they smooth out. But that's also why you'll find that banking, turns, hills, loops, inversions, any element that you craft in 2 meter pieces is going to be a lot smoother because there's going to be less movement between the pieces, which is why you get such smooth results from it. So if I keep going with that. Alright, so yeah, I'd say about that much. Right, so now that we've done that, just go back, check the banking. Honestly, the banking has gone really well here, and I don't even have to adjust it. Actually, ooh, okay, I think we have to adjust it here. Basically, you can see how it's slightly banked to the right a bit too much, so we're just going to pull the banking across a little tiny bit. So it's less banked than it is before, which removes any unnecessary lateral forces. Lateral forces that the rider experiences when they're going through the loop. Because loops are supposed to be just one continuous turn whilst also inverting, which is why the track moves over slightly. The top of the loop should be about 180 degrees to counter the movement of the loop. So if I just pull that across a little bit more. Right, so now that we've adjusted the banking, the best way to do loops is to actually use the 6-piece selection, and then, you know, smooth, move across, smooth, because when you have elements like this, which are supposed to have just one continuous banking transition, selecting 6 pieces means that all of the pieces are going to be aligned smoothly, so that you won't have any random jolts or kinks in the banking whenever you ride it from any perspective, really. Well, you won't really notice it on the track view or the cameras that have slight smoothing to them, like on the Planet Coaster, like the front bumper cam and the rider cam, and any cam that isn't looking, well, any cam that's looking towards the track uses a slight smoothing, which means you won't notice the slight jolts and bumps in the track as much as you will if you use the guest facing cam or the wing view, which they're locked to the car and don't have any sort of smoothing to them. So that way you can see just how smooth the ride is, really. I tend to use that on the invert, as if you go to the back car, use guest facing and spin it around, you actually get a back row POV that's completely locked to the car, and that really helps when you want to look at how smooth a certain element is. So if I just smooth this out, keep going, we can see how smooth this turned out. Alright, so I've smoothed this about 3 passes using 6 pieces selected and back and forth smoothing. And honestly, I think that's a pretty smooth result we've got going on here. A little bit of lateral banking, but not too much that they're going to have excessive lats. So I think we'll give this a ride just to show you the kind of result you can get from using this method. So as you can see there, you get a much smoother result than using the in-game loops. You get a much smoother result than using 4 meter pieces because they're smaller and won't cause as much movement. As well as that, looking at the lats, less than 0.1 lats throughout the entire loop there. So yeah, that's pretty much how you build smooth custom loops in Planet Coaster. You know, add some support like this one, and then you've got a really smooth custom inversion there. And the premise with this method is very similar to the way you build other elements, but I'll have some other tutorials for inversions like corkscrews, you want a whip on, zero G rolls, cobra rolls, airtime hills. I'm going to do some drops as well. So the premise is quite similar. But anyway, if you found this helpful, please give it a like, subscribe maybe. You can see the other tutorials I'm going to post at some point. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later, and hope that this helps you make smooth inversions. And I hope to see some more on your coasters soon. So goodbye.